Welcome to the Commissioner's Report. I'm Miles Vance. Polk County's Parks and Natural Resources Division does much more than maintain the county's parks and facilities. They're also at the forefront of helping to manage the 500-plus lakes in the county. Joining me today is Parks and Natural Resources Director Tabitha Biehl, as well as Polk County Commissioner Becky Troutman. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Director Biehl, I'd like to start with you. You're new to the job, taking over from Gay Sharp, who had been in the position for quite some time. How have your first few months on the job been?
They've been great. I've been with the county for 20 plus years while working in the Parks and Natural Resources Division. And so we have an amazing team that's been very supportive. I've had excellent support from the administration as well. And so it's been as seamless as it could possibly be for that type of transition.
Could you give us an idea of maybe some of the things you're most proud of from the first few months?
Oh yeah, I think one of the things being in the division for many years is us really coming together as a family as Parks and Natural Resources Division. And we're working to be more holistic as one unit. We complement all the different programs that are a part of Parks and Natural Resources, works really well together. We have, as you know, it's quite the diverse division. We have our parks, which are active ball fields, those kind of things, a recreational program that supports those. We have our mosquito control program, our history center, and then we have the land and water program that handles our conservation land acquisition and management of our waterways and streams.
Absolutely. Commissioner Troutman, you have some firsthand experience with many of the divisions under Parks and Natural Resources. I know we did an episode at the History Center not too long ago. But tell me, what are your goals and what are the Commission's goals for Parks and Natural Resources for this year?
Well, the big thing for Parks and Natural Resources is what it adds to our residents' quality of life. And oftentimes we think about that active recreation. But there's a lot that we do separate from active recreation that's tied into parks and natural resources. And the piece that I think is not most valuable, but very valuable, is how do we manage our lands and our water, and then how that affects truly the wet seasons that we have in Polk County. And we know that after Milton we saw significant flooding and a lot of areas of concern, and it's our Parks and Natural Resources that are able to ensure that our natural resources are really providing the best outcome for water management and water quality in our county.
Absolutely, and that's something that's so interesting to me is watching the ways that our different divisions here in the county work together with water as one of the priorities. I mean, you have Utilities Division working to make drinking water accessible. You've got Roads and Drainage working to make sure that the roads stay clear and that the drainage in the county is working perfectly. And then now, we're talking about Parks and Natural Resources, making sure that the lakes that we have in our county, which are such a great resource, are working for us. Director Biehl, what goes into everything that your division does when it comes to managing the lakes in the context of some of these events like Hurricane Milton that we had in 2024?
So our program focuses on the surface water portions, and so we're looking at the water quality mainly to maintain water quality standards so we can enjoy the recreation on those lakes, fishing, whether it's more active water sports, those kind of things, paddling, and those. But over the years, we've also seen with nutrients, nitrogen and phosphorus, those kind of things coming into our waterways, we're starting to see harmful algal blooms. And so we take a look at the water quality and the blooms from those algae to make sure that we're doing as best we can to treat everything coming into the lakes, hopefully before it gets there, so the water quality of our lakes stays the same or improves over time.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because in terms of combating algae, I know there's some really new, interesting technology that you guys are putting out on the lakes. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So one of Governor DeSantis' first moves when he first came into governor at the state of Florida was to address the algal blooms that we were having in the state of Florida, whether it was red tide or the harmful blooms that we have in the inland lakes. And through that, there was a program started through the Florida Department of Environmental Protection through an innovative technology grant. And so it's 100% funded by the state through this innovative technology grant. The county recently applied and was awarded $300,000 for a grant to look at different ways that we can better forecast, detect, and then also mitigate those harmful algal blooms in Polk County.
Absolutely, and one thing that's great about that is it's a grant, right?
So, yes.
Yeah. And another grant that we got recently is a pretty big grant. Can you talk to us about that one?
Yeah, so again, thanks to the governor's leadership, he recently announced that Polk County was awarded $70 million of a grant through the CDBG Disaster Relief Program, and we'll be working with them closely. We've had our kickoff meetings with the Department of Commerce, who's implementing that grant from the state of Florida, and working towards implementing that. It covers Lake Gibson to Lake Parker, down to Saddle Creek, Lake Hancock, all the way to the Peace River. So it's a very regional watershed approach to addressing water quality, but also water management concerns in the area.
Absolutely, and I like that it's a regional watershed thing, right? It's done by the experts here and working with the state funds to make sure that the residents here get the best possible outcome. Can you talk about, at the end of this project, when we're all looking back and saying everything's been completed, what's the goal for our residents? What are they going to see?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. This regional approach, one of the things we want to keep stressing is we don't stop flooding. We are not going to stop rainfall. We're not going to stop extreme weather events, and water has to go somewhere. What we're hoping through this is that we provide a little bit of relief for those areas that are affected during extreme water events, and we find different places where we can move water to or store water better long term, so the recovery after those events might be quicker, so they're not inundated in water for such long periods of time. It works well with our conservation of our lands and creating these corridor areas, and working with agricultural users within these corridor areas, because ranch lands can hold a little bit of water a little bit longer, and if we reimburse them for holding that water, then it's keeping it from ending up on residential properties and industries and those kind of things that we have in our system.
Wonderful. Commissioner Troutman, we talk so much about preparation, and I think we're one of the best prepared counties to deal with hurricanes and things like this. I mean, we have one of the best emergency operations centers, anywhere. Could you talk about your commitment, the board's commitment, to making sure that we're prepared for these events and making sure that we are doing the best to conserve our land and also protect our residents?
Yeah, preparedness takes on many different forms. When we look at surface water and our ability to hold that, again, as Tabitha said, it is a regional approach, because what goes into Lake Gibson then flows, I don't know the exact route that it goes, but it comes into Lake Parker, and so we have this whole effect in our region that residents are screaming, help me get this water off of me. Well, we're not able to take it off them, only to flood someone else out. So when we look at projects like this, we are able to identify areas where we can hold water. Again, we cannot stop the rain from coming down, we cannot stop these hurricanes, but we have a great capacity when we look at the amount of land that we have here and the partners that they've developed over a few decades really in this county and talking conservation, where we can hold water where it doesn't have an impact that really is detrimental to people's lives and livelihoods.
Absolutely. Director Biehl, you mentioned at the start of this interview the word holistic, and for you, what is your holistic vision for the Parks and Natural Resources Division going into 26 and beyond?
Well, you brought up an excellent word earlier, water. Several years ago, the county, implemented a strategic plan, and water was one of those strategic elements as a plan, in the plan that was identified for us to work together holistically for. Utilities, roads and drainage, we work with them not just in our division. Holistically means we're working as a county to serve our residents. And so it means all of us working together to make better decisions and provide information to our administration so they can make policy decisions as we move forward that preserves that quality of life, but also improves the health of our systems and the health of our communities too.
Commissioner Troutman, I'd like to end with you in the same question. What are your goals moving forward with Parks and Natural Resources?
Well, Parks and Natural Resources, it's about quality of life, and everyone defines that a little bit differently, but I can guarantee you, and anyone that had, the experience of their house flooding, that would not be what they would add for their quality of life. So this entire project, I am excited to see this come to fruition in our county, and it really will show how we are working not to just benefit, as we often talk about, unincorporated Polk County. This will affect the residents of Polk County, whether they live in Lakeland, whether they live in Winter Haven, or they live in Bartow. This is a regional approach to improve the quality of life and to put some safeguards in for the residents of Polk County.
Absolutely. Commissioner Troutman, Director Biehl, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.